how did you get here, Matt? What's been the career path to where now, what you're able to oversee with Troon?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, Walter. This is really what I've done my entire life. My parents were Irish immigrants. My dad was a golfer. I used to hop the Montrose bus and go to Maravitz as a small kid, try to find a way to sneak in or convince somebody to take me out. And then, ever since then, it's been a real love affair. High school golf, college golf, followed the path to Florida. Had an opportunity to work up here, both as an assistant and a head professional. And I think the biggest thing that happened to me in my golf career is I joined the Crown family. They are a local, really wonderful local family, material service, Aspen ski, a lot of that. And I was one of the early adoptees in their golf company and spent 20 years with them getting to be part of some of the greatest projects in the United States. Because at the time we had an operating division, a sports marketing, and a construction division. So we did projects like the gallery in Tucson, Barton Creek, Charles Schwab's golf course, the United Auto Workers in Black Lake, Onaway, Michigan. So, and then our big one was the Golf Club Scottsdale, which is now known as Scottsdale National, Bob Parsons project. So it was it was a good road. I got to learn the business from the inside out, and fell in love with the business of golf and the hospitality side of it. Golf is such a people-oriented business. I remember in the early 90s, the NGF released a study that said if we built a golf course a day for a decade, we wouldn't meet the coming demand, kind of the Tiger Woods theory. And we did that. I mean, in the Midwest, we built a ton. Chicago was transformed. A lot of municipal projects were Thunderhawk, Bolingbrook, Shepherd's Crook. I mean, yeah, on. And then nationally it was incredible. And Michigan led the country a couple of years. And I think we had right around 26 or 27 million golfers. And by the end of that stretch, which was kind of felt to me like around '04, Walter, we still had 26 million. And then we went into a phase from '07 to the pandemic that was, probably the most stressful for me that I've worked in. I own my own company. I left the Crowns. They were good to me. I didn't have to. We just had sold everything. And I always wanted to, build something from the ground up. And I felt like, philosophically, that company should adopt the philosophy that we work for our people, meaning our patrons and our employees. In our business, it's decentralized, so we're trying to work with young men and women that in some cases are thousands of miles away from what would be a central office, right? So the culture and the community is an incredibly important part. So built that to 33 golf courses and sold that to Troon in 2019. And oddly enough, of course, I sold it the year before one of the greatest, if not the greatest, gold rush in golf history, the COVID boom. And I'm lucky. Anybody who asks me, or if you ask anybody that knows me, they'll tell you that I'll say I never worked a day in my life because I got to do what I love, and that's really, really true. This is a magnificent business. I've lasted. I went from the young guy to my nickname is Grandpa, one of the old graybeards. But I really love the fact that golf, especially with what we're doing in the city, gives you this great platform to bring people together and make the world a better place. Golf doesn't recognize your race or your age or your religion or your gender or your orientation. I mean, at the end of the day, pardon me, at the end of the day, we're just all golfers trying to hit the next shot, so, and to work in the city and the county and go into communities where you can make a difference has become probably the greatest joy of my career.
So it strikes me, Matt, as we think about golfers that come from the Chicagoland area, it's usually somewhat limited. Probably Kevin Streelman is probably our most successful on the PGA Tour, and certainly within the last 30 years. But as I think about your career from getting on the bus and heading over to Marovitz as a youngster, then going and becoming a professional and then working in different areas and then coming back now, you really have a unique background. There's probably not that many folks with your type of background who came from the Chicagoland area now are in the Chicagoland area and working with a company the size and scope of Troon. How does that impact how you see this community?
Well, I mean, that's a good point. I don't know how many there are. Kevin Streelman's quite a player. I had the pleasure of being at the Wilson Innovation Lab a week ago, talking about how he sets up his irons as I look to make a few adjustments in my old man game so I can compete. But how that's an interesting question. I mean, I look at it as an opportunity. I mean, for me, public golf is like the front porch of our business, and I'm a product of it. I'm a product of junior golf. I think, Troon has a deep appreciation for people and the experience and communities. And so, I might be a little bit, I don't want to say I'm unique because I'm not any better or any worse than anybody, but I really look at it in the city coming back here at what is not, hopefully not I'd like to, I have no interest in retiring because I love what I do, but I look at it as the opportunity to really pay forward everything that's been given to me in a city that I love. And Troon really has, I mean, how do I say this? We have a program called Troon Cares, and we have a community program as well. And so doing projects with like Larry Snelling and the Chicago Police or the First Tee or Michaela Kids Golf Foundation, Special Olympics, getting to work with parks and being able to take their strategic plan and blend it with what we do every day. It's a great opportunity. And I think part of it, Walter, that's interesting is that golf is so healthy that maybe it provides a little bit more of flexibility to do this, where you don't have to be so laser focused every day on just, economic sustainability. And I also think there's a piece of this that I really believe in with all my heart, and I always have. And I used to get laughed at, back many years ago by, my contemporaries. But I felt like there was a period where we thought somehow online booking or email marketing or something was going to be the greatest difference maker. And we came up with a program called Make Golf Fun Again. And it was meant to be kind of funny, a little bit of a spoof, but it was really about, you know, at the end of the day, a golfer has to have, they have a perception of value. They just do, right? And that affects where they go and the decisions they make. But they also really want to have fun. I mean, I've never met anybody addicted to golf that didn't want to have a great time. And that has to be soup to nuts. That has to be the experience beyond just the tees and greens, maybe the vibe when they get in, the after golf, the way they're treated by the beverage cart driver, the events. And so, when we've got this really amazing sustained demand post pandemic that has benefited a lot of people. And golf has become a form of essential recreation. I think we always knew that, but for whatever reason, this new generation that's coming in is like, I got to do this. And so we now have the opportunity to kind of marry a lot of different objectives, community engagement, youth development, safe spaces, fun, a lot of these things. And I think where we're really fortunate in the city and in the county is those all absolutely intersect, completely intersect.
So you touched on one part that I think is really important, Jackson Park, the Jackson
Yeah.
Park renovation. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's sort of the tip of the spear, I think, for so many people in the city when they think golf. Jackson Park comes to mind. Like what was it, 10 years ago? We had the almost Tiger coming in involved, and there was going to be a renovation, but now there is. Talk a little bit about what's going to happen there.
Yeah, well, that's a big, it's really important. Now you're also intersecting history of golf. It's the oldest 18-hole public course west of the Alleghenies. It has an amazing relationship to the development of African American golf culture. I mean, it's a historic place. And I think, a lot of people got really excited, myself included, about what might happen. And it was a big project, probably the most complicated when you really look at the scope of what was originally proposed, one of the more complicated construction projects in the history of golf. Um, but what happened was, as a result of it not happening, a golf course that is magnificent had infrastructure issues, right? And I think a lot of the locals started to become, or the patrons started to believe maybe this wasn't going to happen. And so now we are doing it. We've got we're lucky to be working with Jeff Hollenbeek and Todd Quitno and John Leibold, and we're looking at how can we take the history of Jackson Park, um, the needs that it has for modernization, infrastructure, design elements, and marry that with what Tom Bendelow did and the original kind of design concepts that were present in the 1920s. So one of the things that was very, very important to us when we looked at this was to do it the right way, to make it sustainable, right? Like it wasn't just about doing a renovation. It was what would, pay homage to the original design, to really inspire the patrons and make them feel like this is really cool, and what would last, right? Because we're at the end of the day, when you're a manager of any sort of municipal project, you're a steward of the asset, you're a steward of the community, and so we're bringing the bunkers back to their original design, which is kind of an almost looks has a lot of cape and bay in it. We're doing state of the art, capillary concrete. We're doing, we're reshaping, we're moving, we're taking some that aren't relevant away. We're creating design features that were present in 1925, and we're all doing it with the most modern technology. So you're going to have literally the best sand. You're going to have double diamond in the bunkers, capillary concrete with great drainage. And I think what the players are going to see just from the bunkers alone is you're going to have an experience that maybe if you went to one of the better clubs in town, both public and private, you'd be playing out of the same type of thing. And then beyond that, we're looking at the golf course and saying, what can we do, again, along with the original design intent, to make it more playable for a wider variety of patrons. So we're moving tees, we're adding tees, we're lengthening the golf course in some areas, we're offering shorter opportunities. Because like a lot of the golf courses of that age, Walter, when they built it, it was just a couple of tees, a tee box and a green. And now we live in a world where I just heard a statistic the other day from the USGA that the ideal yardage to get people into the game, entered into the game and playing, and then benefiting older players and ladies is 4,400, right? And then you build up from there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing some of that as well. And then two of the other pieces that I just love is we're doing a practice area to the north of the first tee. Have you been to Canal Shores, Walter?
Yes, yeah, I got to play a couple years ago, but right when the renovation was still taking place.
All right, so they have a putting green, a putting course that they put in that Todd Quitno did that is one of the best in town. I mean, I just love it, and it's a great setting for everything from practice to, just having a really great time. So we're doing that very large, state of the art kind of putting green course practice area with a couple bunkers there. And then we're taking the original design where 2 and 18 green were one big green complex and connecting those. So um, I'm excited about it. The golf course turf wise is in very good health. We started the process last year of irrigation upgrades. And so we've got we've modernized the system completely from soup to nuts, because our goal is also to be pretty environmentally and ecologically responsible. So not just pounding water to pound water, not just spraying the spray. And I'm quite proud of where the golf course is agronomically, but I think with the changes in the improvements, as the only 18-hole golf course sort of in the portfolio and in that city proper, I'm pretty excited about um, how it's going to end up. And we were at the golf show last weekend. I missed you. I'm sorry. I had felt like I had a never-ending stream of people that wanted to chat, but um, I really appreciated the excitement that came out of it because in this instance, it's real, right? We're going to break ground on Monday. People are going to see it. And I think we owe it to the patrons to keep our promises, right? And this time, make sure this gets done.
So in our last 10 minutes or so, I wanted to cover a couple things. I think most of our audience is familiar with the Troon name, but I don't think they probably have as good of an idea as what Troon does. But we do that, before we talk about some of your properties, I wanted to point out something that I saw or had an experience at the golf show. I got to meet Nick Polito from your staff, and it was a very interesting story about how he kind of got involved in the golf business, and now where he's got seemingly a wonderful opportunity, and he's involved with Jackson Park and some of the other courses. Can you talk about like these? It seems like there's almost a pipeline for Troon. So it's certainly like somebody like Nick, where they kind of, I guess, get to go down the same path that you have.
Yeah, well, now you're talking about something that's really important to me. I think when we talk about grow the game, Walter, we lost sight of the fact that we need people that are on our side of the counter too. In that stretch from '07 to the pandemic, the only way anybody moved up the ladder was if somebody died, got fired, or retired because we were shrinking, not growing. And Nick is very special to me. He came in during the pandemic. He was a casualty of the pandemic. He was a Salesforce employee. He's well educated. He's a Daniel Murphy scholar. He's a Chicago boy, went to De La Salle. His dad has worked for Parks Golf for a very long time. Um, and I still remember the first time I met him. He was at Marquette Park. And he had this amazing enthusiasm. He had this, the one thing you can't teach, I feel like, Walter, is happiness. And, the Mr. Melman used to say, I can teach anybody to do anything, but I need the personality is what they have. And so Nick is one of this new breed that has embraced it. Wasn't, maybe a traditional path, playing golf, and he's just a magnificent, starting with, he's a magnificent human being. I'm really glad you brought him up. And with Troon, he's now gotten an amazing opportunity. He's gone through our in-house sort of golf MBA program. He was a 24 graduate of that. He spoke at our national leadership conference, but he's this breed that looks at the golf as more than just golf. It's an experience, which is something in our company that we take very seriously. I'm not saying that others don't. I'm just saying, when we go to work every day, we know that one of our main themes that we have to hit is to create a great experience for our patrons. But another thing that we believe very strongly in is creating a great experience for our employees. And Nick is he's what I would call a five-tool player. He's administratively, he's brilliant. Organizationally, he's brilliant. He's an amazing mentor and trainer. So, we try to create a pipeline of people coming out of the city, coming out of the neighborhoods that we work in, that can not only embrace golf as a career, but really chase their dreams. Whether that dream is to be, Nick maybe wants to oversee the Chicago region someday, or maybe Nick wants to go to some other part of the world, or maybe Nick becomes the CEO of Troon one day. He's kind of that breed, and one of the things that for me I focus on, pardon me, Walter, is really developing the young men and women that are in golf and asking them and encouraging them, and then supporting them and bringing resources to bear so that they can pursue this as a career opportunity. And and it's more than just giving them a job, you know, it's giving them purpose, giving them responsibility, educating them into the, whether it's the PGA, the golf course superintendents, the club managers, you know, and helping them to believe that they can be this and be part of it. And I can't say enough about Nick. You know, he participates in everything that we do on the community engagement side. He's just brilliant. And there's a number of other young men and women that I'm blessed to work with in the Parks team that have that same DNA. And a lot of people forget that when the rest of the world is barbecuing and going to softball games and baseball games, the golf industry is working. Memorial Day, Labor Day, and 4th of July, when everybody's home, we're still serving people. And so the job is can be a long, you know, a lot of hours, a lot of weekends, time away. Yet, you know, Nick's this breed that Nick is part of, this new breed, you know, he's always there. You see, I'll give you a great example. We built this amazing practice area at Columbus that's free for people to use. We really wanted to work with the community and provide them an asset that I had met people in the Austin neighborhood that said that they had wanted this for 30 years. And we had to come in and to get it open on time. We had to do the actual golf course was done, or the area, but we had to do the landscaping, and it was really hard work. I mean, mulch, and Nick showed up on a Saturday with his grungy clothes and worked side by side, and we had a couple of other staff members. And I guess what I'm saying is, you know, he's a pretty special guy. There's more like him, thankfully. And I think we have a responsibility as an industry to cultivate these folks and to give them all of the opportunity, resources, and support that we can, and mentorship, so that they become the next generation. Because golf is also changing, and it looks a lot more like them than it does me. You know what I mean? In all respects, age included. I kind of grew up in the no generation, you know, no cell phones, no fun, no ladies on Wednesday, no kids on Saturday morning, wear your khakis, you know, wear a blue blazer into the dining room. And it's changed. And honestly, I think it's changed for the better. I really do. I love where golf's at. It's really fun. There's the widest range of people I've ever seen in the game. And it's become really cool. And people like Nick are a big part of that.
So let's finish up then. Just to briefly cover, I'll just kind of go through some of the Troon properties in the area that people may or may not realize that Troon's involved with, and maybe we give a sentence or two about them. We kind of we might have mentioned this Diversey driving range.
Busiest driving range in America. Unbelievable. Places, 1,000 buckets a day. It's a community center. I think it might. Thing I'd be curious, Walter, is how many men and women have met there for the first time and ended up married after a date to Diversey.
How about this is a different one, a new one. It's a simulator business, Golf's on Social
Yeah.
in Oak Brook. What's the relationship there?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We're a partner in that with Golf Zone out of Korea. It's a concept. And again, it's just another, it's really looking at golf as an entire universe, and having these golf entertainment venues as opportunities to keep people engaged in the off season, bring new people in. And everything that people said that would happen with golf entertainment being a feeder for golf has been true. It's a really, really fun, it's a very fun place.
So one of my favorites, I have my annual golf outing here, George Dunn in Oak Forest.
Oh my God, I used to wait in my car back. It was the Bethpage Black of Chicago. You couldn't book tee times. You had to show up in person. It's getting renovated this year. Personal favorite. I've had a long association with Kemper Lakes. People really don't know that George Dunn is the sister course. Same piece of ground, same designer, same concept. You know, arguably the best, one of the best municipal golf courses you're going to go anywhere. I love Dunn.
I talked with Greg Martin 2 weeks ago. What about Orchard Valley?
Oh, well, again, another one. That's part of when we first started talking, this growth that came out of the municipal sector is part of this belief that golf was going to explode. really great piece of ground. Greg has done a magnificent job. Super interesting design, big golf course, but yet you can play it from, any tee box. I think it's one of the great municipal golf courses in Chicago. And I think now as the market has gotten expanded, like back in the day, it felt like that was a long drive if you didn't live out there. It's definitely worth the trip. It's a really, really cool place. Original Arthur Hills design. Awesome place.
And then the last two are two private clubs. So you
Yeah.
mentioned Kemper Lakes and then Naperville Country Club.
Yeah. I mean, interesting. Both the stalwarts in their markets. Naperville is fantastic, has been given a great facelift, has a great team, fantastic membership. I've gotten to know a lot of the members. It really serves that classic member club profile. It's got everything from kids golf to women's golf to the men's to member guests to competition. And it's got a really nice feel to it. It's a really good private club. And then Kemper's a beast, long host of the 1989 PGA Championship won by Payne Stewart, probably the third best tournament lineage in town behind Medina and Olympia. Host of many great events. Historically has been kind of a men's, not it wasn't men's, but it was such a big club. And over the last 15 years, working with Rick Jacobson and Dave Essler, kind of making it the complete package so you can play from 7,800 yards to 4,800 yards. But definitely a club that is an integral part of the history of Chicago golf. And both are great places, fantastic.
Well, this has been great, Matt. I think I could go on and on and on. We covered a lot, but I really appreciate it. I'll keep you posted. Usually it's about a week before I'll edit it and post it, but I'll
Yeah.
let you know when it's up there.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you. If you ever want to play golf or you want to see any of these or you love George Dunn, when we reopen George Dunn, I'd love to have you out and you can do whatever you like. I have a real soft spot for George Dunn, having been one of the guys that would get up at 3:30 to get there to try to be first in line.
Mhm.
Um, and to see it where it's at today, where it's still, one of the things we didn't really touch on it, and I'm glad you didn't ask me because people would be mad at me, but I worry that we're pricing ourselves back out again a little bit. I
Mm.
mean, if you look
Mhm.
at the price of golf outside of Chicago, it's ridiculous. If you look at the price of golf inside of Chicago compared to pre-pandemic, it's very expensive.
Mm.
And George Dunn is one of the great experiences, and it's a great value. It's almost to the point where, like I think about it, I'm a little bit blown away,
Mhm.
because so many courses, like I love Ed Stevenson and DuPage Golf. They're good guys. They've done a great job. They're renovating Maple Meadows, Oak Meadows. The old Oak Meadows Country Club is awesome, the preserve.
Mhm.
And but they're at the forefront of pushing the price. They're at 125. Blackstone, which is a really fun club out in Marengo, they're pushing the price. And then some of the old stalwarts that we all grew up playing, Deerfield, Wilmette, Sunset Valley, they're getting to a point too where they're triple digits, and you're like, so I think it's cool because I lived through the worst of it and had 2 heart attacks from the stress of running a company where your personal guarantees are 3 times your net worth. But I'm really happy it's healthy. I wanted to live to see the day that when you invest your whole life in something and people in Barron's and the Wall Street Journal are writing about the death of golf in 2017 and the baby boomers all going away. I'm really happy, really, really happy.